So Kanye West was in the courtroom today. Yeah, because I'd want the dude that identifies as a black Nazi to support me in my trial. Hi, I'm Melba Pearson, also known as the resident legal diva, and it's time for another Daily Diddy, bringing you daily updates from the Diddy trial until we get a verdict. So today, Kanye West showed up and caused a little bit of a stir. He only hung out for like less than an hour, was in the overflow room, and kind of was like in and out and bounced, but clearly was there to support Diddy, had said as much to reporters and all of that. So there's that. So back to what was important, the testimony. So first off was Special Agent Andre Lamone. Now he was part of the Homeland Security team that did the raids on all of Diddy's houses. He, of course, found what? Baby oil, back to the baby oil, as well as a ton of guns. And that's important because remember, Capricorn Clark talked about how she was held at gunpoint, how other folks had talked about how when he was going to go after Suge Knight, they all started grabbing guns, all of that. So again, the fact that he had so many guns in his possession lends credibility to their testimony and talking about that. So that was important. He found, what was it, 200 bottles of baby oil and like 900 bottles of Astroglide. On cross, the defense was like, isn't this the first like sex trafficking case that you found this much baby oil and Astroglide? And he's like, yeah, that's a first. So basically the defense is trying to be like, well, clearly this is done as part of a consensual sex act because of the fact that in other human trafficking and sex trafficking cases, you don't find that volume of baby oil and Astroglide. Again, don't think that's the hill you need to die on for this one, but hey, they're going to work with what they got. Next up was another personal assistant of Diddy's. So next up was Jonathan Perez, who was a former assistant of Diddy's. Now he talked about, by the way, Fort Lauderdale, Florida native, very interesting. But anyway, so he talked about how folks on the team had between 2 and 24 hours to prepare for what they called a king night, another name for a freak off, another name for a hotel night. And of course, Astroglide, baby oil, drugs, all of that needed to be present. So there was that. He also talked about how one of his duties was to get drugs for Diddy. So the head of security would give him a ton of cash. He'd go get the drugs and bring it back. Here you go. Now you have people that are on your payroll, not your personal assistant, but people that are on your payroll for bad boy engaging in criminal activity. So you've got that. So that was a really important piece of his testimony for the prosecution. He also talked about finding a sex tape on a company iPad of Diddy's. Again, you already know I'm going. Now, interestingly enough, on the iPad sex tape, the person involved, not only was it Diddy watching in the background, but it was Jane with another man. Now, he went on to say that Jane never really looked like she was in distress. She seemed to enjoy these nights, always wore like a Tom Ford like shirt and like little shorts and stuff on those days. Always had her hair did, seemed to be happy. So another interesting tidbit that the defense was very quick to pounce on with regards to that. Of course, he, like many others, said, hey, I split because I'd started to see that a lot of the activities could put me in jeopardy. So I decided to leave, but I still love Diddy and and, didn't really want to be here to testify against him, just that I was subpoenaed, yada, yada, yada. So again, common theme with all of the witnesses. But again, his testimony is key in getting us closer to racketeering because of the drug trafficking aspect. So the last interesting part of today is that it seems like a juror is going to get kicked off. So apparently, one of the jurors lied about where they lived. So they maybe didn't live in the 5 boroughs of New York City, lived upstate New York, Hudson Valley. That's important because, again, if you're not being honest with the court, what else have you not been honest about? And how will that how would you conduct yourself during deliberation? So it looks like that juror is going to be kicked off. Not going to be an issue because remember, we have 12 jurors plus 6 alternates. Having an alternate is critical because in that way you just swap one out and the trial keeps moving. So that's the wrap for today. We're going to be back on Monday morning with more testimony. We anticipate that the prosecution's case will end next week. Then we can get into the defense case, get to closings, and finally get a verdict. Take care, y'all. Have a great weekend. See you Monday. Bye.